do it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast.
We do a lot of marketing, and one of the things that's changed now is you can use AI to do clips. Otherwise, it's expensive to. We used to do it with people. We still have people, but AI will generate clips out of a show. Then the people look at it and pick the right ones, tighten it up, and so forth. But they do that. They make it vertical. They put in captions. They do a lot of the stuff that helps it go viral on these platforms, Instagram and TikTok and so forth. So it's a lot. There are tools out there to help for marketing, and we post at least twice a day on all of the social platforms, little clips like that.
So talk about, you said you use AI to help you script the shows. Is there any other, like, if you don't mind, what's your process for that? Like, what do you use? What do you like?
So I usually decide on what the topic of the episode is going to be based on my understanding of what's going on in the industry and what people are asked, questions that are being asked of me. And I will then say, give me an outline of the top 5 points or 10 points that I need to cover if I'm going to do this. And it's really just a time-saving tool. If I sat down and did it myself, I'd probably come up with the same thing. Yep. Every once in a while, I get something that's like, oh, that's interesting. And more often it's, oh, that's totally not relevant. And then so I'll refine that outline, and then maybe I'll feed it back into a GPT or a Claude or something like that. And I'll say, okay, give me talking points on number 3. And more about just making sure I don't miss anything than, and if I'm really short on time, I'll say, okay, write the script. And then I have to rewrite the script, so it doesn't really save me a lot of time. I experiment with lots of tools, but I always come back to ChatGPT, and Cast Magic is one of my favorites for. What's interesting is Cast Magic is more after you've created the content. It goes through, transcribes, and creates summaries and other stuff. So I'm using it more on the front end to generate the stuff I'm going to use to deliver content.
Yeah, I don't use it for the show, but one of the things I have noticed that and maybe it's my personality, you can tell me if you see it the same way or not. Sometimes it's so hard for me to get the bat off my shoulders to start even writing an email or something. But when my EA writes drafts in my drafts folder, and I go, oh, that's terrible. I need to change that. And I'm right into it. Right, I'm like an email that I would have put off writing or maybe not written. Right. Now I'm like, well, I wouldn't say that. I'd say this. And
so you don't know what to say, but you also do know what not to say.
Correct. Yes. Like, well, there's this human
inertia.
And there's the one. It's like the one human trait that spans across all cultures and languages is the desire to correct somebody.
Yeah.
And so like I use it with my 2-year-old, like, that's a square. No, it's a circle. Oh, okay, sorry. And then you can use this, like, write this email. No, that's not what I'd say. Out of my way. I don't want to write this email. Oh my God, what are you typing? Out of my way. So like, there's some value, I think, in that, even for creatives, to just editing what ChatGPT started. You might end up in a place where not a single word is what originally started there, but you'd be sitting there putting it off still if you had to write the first sentence.
Agreed. Yeah, it can be good for ideation and initiation. It isn't a finishing tool.
I'm not worried about AI. I have literally hundreds of thousands of hours of audio and video recordings of myself available publicly. I am sure generating an almost exact AI duplicate of me would be trivial. And it doesn't bother me. It doesn't worry me in the least, because I know that people have an affinity for a human. Now, to the degree an AI can pose as a human, maybe in the years to come, you can create a perfect AI buddy. That'll be interesting. That's very Black Mirror, if you ask me.
I was going to say, there's been a movie or two about this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it could happen. I honestly think that people just want some companionship, and they're in the car, or they're going to bed, and they like having those voices in the background of people they know, which is why it is hard to start a new podcast, and really like. And of course, the longer we do this, the more that bond builds up. I think by now, after 20 years, the people who've been listening all that time, we're personal friends. There's a very strong parasocial relationship.
Is that something that is what's going to keep content creators in the world of whatever looming. There's a lot of doom and gloom around AI producing content. Like,
Yes.
I can't imagine.
Nobody wants
I can't
to become
imagine
a buddy with a machine.
Yeah, no.
No. That you nailed it. In fact, if you've listened to Notebook LM and the podcasts, they're fine. More, they're just like, wow, that's amazing that they can do that.
Mm.
It's not anything that fills a need in your heart.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I don't want to hear the LM people more. I just want
Gee, I wonder
that
what they're
content.
thinking about this.
Yeah.
No, you never think that. General AI is a foolish goal. That's not what we're looking for anyway. We don't want to replace ourselves. That would be a bad idea. We want it to be our little helper.
Yeah, I think Paul earlier said, like, he wants AI to be like a really eager high school student intern.
An intern.
That just really wants to make you happy.
Forget AGI. We want intern AI.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Can I get you a cup of coffee?
The thing I'm seeing now, I'm not anti-AI at all, but I saw somebody yesterday that was like, hey, is there any tool that I can upload this file to, and it can find a quote? And so it wasn't just find the quote and put it at the beginning of this episode. They basically wanted to have AI edit the show 100%. And I don't know any AI that works 100%. It's all usually 80, 90%, and then you got to go in and tweak.
Yeah.
And so AI is a great tool. I've used it for quite a few things, but in the end, you don't want to AI yourself right out of the show. I use Perplexity is a search engine, and I think ChatGPT is doing this now, but it gives you its sources. So I said, is it true that putting your keywords at the beginning of your podcast title is a good practice? I forget exactly what the prompt was. And it said, yes. And then it gave me like 5 different SEO articles. I like AI not to, in many cases, not to use verbatim their title, but I'll be like, hey, here's my transcript of my podcast. Give me 15 titles of this. And, 13 of those are going to be awful, and 2 of them are going to be pretty good. And I'm like, ooh, but if I take part of this one and part of that one and Frankenstein together a title, because to me, and again, there are all sorts of AI tools that, will rate your title and such, and they're okay. But my basic metric is, which one of these do I want to click more? One of my favorite prompts after doing a live show where I've kind of prepped, but not really, I will go, based on this transcript, what were the companies mentioned and what websites were mentioned? Because for me, show notes are 90% links. What did we talk about? Because somebody's like, oh, that sounded really cool. And then they go to the show notes and there's no link.
Right.
And that saved me hours of having to listen to the episode again. Mike Russell is a guy who runs a company that does voiceover. And so he saw the writing on the wall. He goes into a feed reader, I think it's Feedly, and if he puts a check mark on it via Zapier or something, it sends that blog post to Google Docs. Google Docs then sends it to 11 Labs, where RoboMike then reads it and sends the audio to, if I remember right, it was SoundCloud. And now with HeyGen, have you played with that yet?
No, what's HeyGen?
HeyGen is, number one, you can now clone yourself as a video. And when you go to the website, they have a picture of the CEO, and then it turns out that he's got a little video there in the bottom right-hand corner, and halfway through the video goes, oh, by the way, this isn't me.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what? But you can also then have it translate into another language.
How do you see the copyright, specifically, implications around the AI-generated content today?
It's really tricky, and there's a lot of minds that are smarter than I am about this thinking about it. But, there's a couple of different sides to it. One is the copyright in the material that was used to train these tools, which is essentially basically everything that's available on the internet. Well, if I wrote something and someone asks the question and they should have found me to get the answer, yeah, it just cost me an opportunity or a client or something like that. So I'm worried that, especially if the output is too similar to what I came up with. And frankly, the system wouldn't have been able to generate that output without my stuff, even if it isn't similar. So that's what the copyright holders are claiming about the ingestion side of it.
Yeah.
Then there's the side where if the output is too similar to the work I created, who do you point fingers at? And, who's the infringer? It's a computer somewhere that theoretically compiled a bunch of information. But that sentence, that came from me. That paragraph, that came from me. That's another kind of copyright infringement of the distribution of a copy. And then there's the third angle on this, and that's the other side of this, is that the output of these machines, where there's no human involved in making the content, can anybody own that content, that output?
Right.
I have mixed feelings about it, to be honest. My own feelings are, I've been sort of a proponent of the disclaimer thing, at least when the content is mostly generated or all generated by AI.
Mm-hmm.
When there's a human person intervening and making, for example, I use an AI tool to help script some of my content. I don't feel like I have to tell my audience that, because I am still taking that and making it my own before I deliver it to camera and to microphone. Were I not involved in that and it was just some system sounding like my voice and worst case making people think it's actually me, yeah, I think there needs to be a disclosure there. But, it's a tool and it has a lot of strong utility. It's a useful tool.
This is different, another round, so much more to talk about. Gonna aim to satisfy with help from CashFly. Get to it fast. Right here on the Anycast. Make it strong, make it last. Right here on the Anycast. The Anycast podcast, brought to you by CashFly.